The story of Moses, a journey of faith and liberation. In the heart of ancient Egypt, where the Nile flows like a lifeline through the desert, a baby was born under the shadow of oppression. His name was Moses. Little did the world know that this child would grow to become a beacon of hope for an enslaved people. Moses was born to Hebrew parents during a time of great peril. Pharaoh, fearing the growing population of the Hebrews, had ordered that all newborn Hebrew boys be thrown into the Nile. In a desperate act of love, his mother placed him in a basket and set him adrift on the river, trusting that God would protect him. As fate would have it, the basket was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter. She took pity on the crying infant and decided to raise him as her own, naming him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses grew up in the palace, surrounded by luxury, yet he felt the pull of his true heritage. He witnessed the suffering of his people, the harsh labor, and the cries of despair. This internal conflict would shape his destiny. One fateful day, while visiting the Hebrew workers, Moses saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Rage ignited within him, and in a moment of impulsive strength, he intervened, killing the Egyptian. Realizing the gravity of his actions, Moses fled to the desert of Midian, leaving behind the life of privilege and comfort. In Midian, Moses found refuge with a priest named Jethro. He married Jethro's daughter, Zipporah, and became a shepherd. Yet the memory of his people haunted him. He often gazed at the horizon, yearning for justice, for freedom, for a way to help those who were suffering. One day, while tending to his flock on Mount Horeb, Moses encountered something extraordinary.
Moses! Moses!
A bush burned brightly, yet it was not consumed by the flames. As he approached, he heard a voice calling his name, Moses, Moses. It was God, revealing his plan to deliver the Israelites from bondage. Moses trembled in fear and awe. "Who am I to lead the people?" he asked, his voice quivering. But God reassured him, promising to be with him and to empower him with signs and wonders. Despite his doubts and insecurities, Moses accepted the divine call, though he felt unworthy and inadequate. With his brother Aaron,
Aaron, do you truly believe we can convince Pharaoh Tampulao to let our people go? Brother, we must have faith. God has chosen us for task. I know, but what if he refuses? What if he hardens us and I feel our evil will? We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions. The people need hope, Moses. You're right, I have to be strong for them. But what if I stumble? What if I can't speak the words that will move him? Then I will be there to support you. We will speak together. I will be your voice when you need it. God will guide us. We just need to trust him. You always know how to calm my fears. I appreciate your faith in me, Aaron. I don't feel worthy of this calling. I'm just a shepherd, not a leader. You are more than just a shepherd. You have the heart of a leader, Moses. You've fed them with paths of reaping. You've seen the suffering of our people. You've felt their pain. That empathy will guide you. Use it to speak for them. They work so hard. I can't bear the thought of them suffering because of my hesitation. Then let's give them hope. Let's show Pharaoh the power of our God. We will tell him that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob demands our freedom. He will have no choice but to listen. You're right, we must do this for them, for our people. I will not let fear hold us together. I will not let fear hold me back any longer. We will confront Pharaoh together. That's the spirit. Let's gather the elders of Israel to be ready to follow us. Yes, let's do it. We will show them that their cries have been heard, that God has not forgotten them. Freedom is within our reach.
with his brother Aaron at his side, Moses returned to Egypt. The weight of his mission pressed heavily upon him. He stood before Pharaoh, a man of immense power, and demanded, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he refused. Instead, he increased the burdens on the Israelites, making their suffering even greater. Moses felt the despair of his people. Their cries echoed in his heart. But God had not abandoned them. He promised Moses that he would perform mighty miracles to demonstrate his power. And so began the series of plagues, turning the Nile into blood, swarms of frogs, gnats, flies, livestock disease, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and finally, the death of the firstborn. Each plague was a testament to God's authority, a call for Pharaoh to relent. Yet each time, Pharaoh's heart grew harder, and the suffering of the Israelites deepened. Finally, God instructed Moses to prepare the Israelites for their liberation. They were to sacrifice a lamb and mark their doorposts with its blood. This would be a sign for the angel of death to pass over their homes. That night, as darkness fell over Egypt, the cries of mourning filled the air. Pharaoh, devastated by the loss of his firstborn, finally relented. "Go!" he shouted. The Israelites left in haste, carrying their unleavened bread and their hopes for freedom. As they journeyed into the unknown, a mixture of fear and excitement filled their hearts. They were free, but the road ahead was uncertain. As they approached the Red Sea, the Israelites looked back to see Pharaoh's army pursuing them. Panic ensued. "Why did you bring us out here to die?" they cried to Moses. In that moment of despair, Moses turned to God, and God instructed him to stretch out his staff over the sea. With a mighty wind, the waters parted, creating a pathway of dry land. The Israelites crossed, witnessing the miraculous power of God. As they reached the other side, Moses turned to see the waters crashing down upon the Egyptian army, sealing their fate. The Israelites erupted in song and praise, celebrating their deliverance. But the journey was far from over. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, facing trials and tribulations. They struggled with doubt, longing for the comforts of Egypt. "At least we had food there," they lamented, forgetting the chains of slavery. Moses, burdened by their complaints, sought guidance from God. He received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai, a covenant that would guide the people in their relationship with God and one another. These laws were not just rules, they were a blueprint for a community built on love, justice, and faithfulness. Yet, even with divine guidance, the people faltered. They crafted a golden calf, turning away from the God who had saved them. Moses, witnessing their betrayal, descended from the mountain in anguish. He shattered the tablets in his rage, but he interceded for his people, pleading for God's mercy. After years of wandering, the time came for the Israelites to enter the Promised Land. However, Moses, due to a moment of disobedience, was not permitted to enter. He climbed Mount Nebo, gazing at the land flowing with milk and honey, the land he had fought so hard to lead his people to. In that moment of bittersweet reflection, Moses understood that his life's purpose had been fulfilled. He had led his people out of bondage, taught them the ways of God, and prepared them for a future filled with hope. As he stood alone, he felt the weight of his journey, the struggles, the triumphs, the faith that had carried him through. Moses passed away on that mountain, but his legacy lived on. The Israelites entered the Promised Land, carrying with them the stories of a leader who had faced insurmountable odds, who had wrestled with doubt, and who had ultimately trusted in God's plan.
The story of Moses is not just a tale of liberation. It is a testament to the power of faith, resilience, and the belief that even in the darkest times, hope can shine through. His journey reminds us that we are all called to rise above our circumstances, to lead with courage, and to trust in a greater purpose.